Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. We are continuing our series of shiurim on the topic of mummers, mishumadim, people who have turned their back on Yiddishkeit and what their halachic status is. This is the fourth shiur in the series. In the Tshuvas Harashba, Mechelekei and Siman Samach Vav, the Rashba answered a question about a mummer la'akum. Somebody was an apostate Jew who retracted. Now he wants to be a Jew again. He wants to go back to Jewish practice. Does he need tvila b'mikveh? So the Ritva is marich to explain he doesn't need tvila since harasa v'leidasa b'kedusha. He was conceived b'kedusha. He was born b'kedusha. Mashen ken ager who wasn't. Ayin sham in the Rashba in the Tshuvas. In the Beis Yosef in Sof Siman Reis Samachetz. See what he says over there, and in the Ramah, in Sif Yud Beis, and in Siman, Reis Samach Zayin, Sif Ches, and the Ber Hagolah there in Os Yud Zayin, he writes in the Maharshal that Al Kol Panim, the Mumrim are still Tovel. But the psak is that they do go to mikveh. Ayin Sham. But L'chora, it's very hard to understand. What's the whole discussion? And what do we need the Gansa Arichos and the Rashba? Yes, no, and then he concludes with the difference between Geirim and Mumarim. That Ger is Lo Yisar Ratzulei Dasa B'Kedusha, and a Mumar Yes Ratzulei Dasa B'Kedusha. So from this is mashma that a Mumar was mafkia himself from Kedusha. A Mumar removed himself, he precluded himself from being in the world of Kedusha. What world of Kedusha? The world of bris. He was mafkia himself from the bris, from the special covenant that we have with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He left the covenant. We spoke in the previous shiurim about the fact that every Jew is a Jew, is Israel, and is also part of the covenant. And he abandoned the covenant. And therefore, if he leaves the covenant, maybe he needs Gerus. Because Gerus is Knisa Labris. So if Gerus is Knisa Labris, so it would make sense that if somebody leaves the bris, they need a Gerus. Because they left, now they have to come back, they need Tevila. The Mila he already has, because before he was a Mummer, already had Tevila, but maybe he needs Tevila. And therefore the Rashba has to be marich and be mevayer, that even though, there's a Knisa Labris in the Mummer, but the Tefillah that he requires is required only by somebody who's not Yisrael, somebody who's ready in Yisrael. Since he was noilad to be Kedusha, so he can have Knisa Labris just by Kabbalah, and he doesn't have to be Tovel. Nevertheless, there's still a Chumrah, like we said from the Maharshal, that he should be Tovel, and that all stems with our Yisod. And that would also appear to explain the Chiddush of the Sugi in Yevamis Mem Zayin Amud Beis. There in the Braisa, it says, Toval ve'ola, Hareu ki Yisrael l'chol davar. That if he does Tvila, the Ger goes to Mikvah and he comes out, he's a Jew. And the Chiddush is the Gemara, the Hadar Re'em HaKadosh Bas Yisrael, Yisrael Mumar Krina Bev Kedush Kedushin. And if afterwards he goes and he's Mekadesh, a Yiddish Froy, a Yiddish Meidel, Jewish girl, he's called the Yisrael Mumar, and its Kedushin is a valid Kedushin. It's brought by Halacha, by the Rambam in the 10th paragraph of Malacha Gimel. The Rambam writes, Ben Noshin is Gayer Mo B'tol Bakach Whatz Lachser Mechori Hashem Lios Ger Toishav. Ben Noyach that was Mizgayer, and he did Mili Tefillah, and then afterwards he wants to go back from Hashem and be a Ger Toishav. Ein Shomin Lo, we don't listen to him. What's the Chiddush? Mechi Teisi, that he can be Choser. He became a Jew. It's like it's Pasha that a Jew can't resign and be a Goy. You don't need a Chiddush for that. Ava Pishachat Yisraelu, Zel B'zach with a Ger. What do you need a special Chiddush here for? The answer is that we explained in a previous segment of the Shir that the Yisod of Geras is Knisa Babris. And therefore you would think that it's shaykh to be mafkia yourself from the bris. Ayidei mumrus. So pakam emele geruso. Since this gerus is that he's part of the bris, and that's the kamashwan of the brisa. That after his knisa lebris, he's a Yisrael. Now, it's not only a ben bris, he's also a Yisrael. Like the brisa says, he's Yisrael l'chol dvarav, by being tovel ve'oleh. In other words, even though the tefillah is a maisa shel knisa, like gerus, la bris, but after he comes out, he's part of the bris. Not only part of the bris, he's also a Yisrael. And this is after his tefillah. He becomes a Yisrael, not only ben bris, but also a Yisrael. And therefore it's telling us, he's such a Yisrael, it doesn't matter if he retracts, it doesn't matter what he does. So even if the bris is nifka, by him becoming a mummer, since he's also a Yisrael, he remains a Yisrael. He's a Yisrael mummer, like the Lashon of the Gemara in Yevamos. And that's the Chiddush. The Chiddush is that after he becomes a ger, not only was he, even though ger is just knisa labris, so you might think he went into the bris, he can go out of the bris. No! The Chiddush of the Gemara is that by being nichnas labris, he also becomes a Yisrael. And that can never be undone. Tova v'yala. And with this, we can also explain the Rambam. There in Hilchos Malachim, after he writes that a ger can't retract, he continues and he writes, "Yimay akanik shvilu bezdin yochel limchos kshiyagadol v'yager toishav." A akanik can be moicha. So it's meduyak miseder divrei Rambam that what can't be done by a gadol can be done by a katan. That a gadol can't retract, but a katan can. That's the chiddush of the Rambam. But this is Tamuah. To say that what can't be done by a gadol can be done by a katan. Because what can't be done by a gadol is that he can't retract. In the same way a gadol can't retract, a katan can't retract. In other words, if you shtel tzu a gadol and a katan, you can't say that a katan can do what a gadol can't do. Because once a Jew, always a Jew. So that a katan can retract, it's coming from a different place. Ksubas yad aleph from an aleph. Since his ger is indeed zaken l'adam shaloi b'fanav, he's megala das that it's not a schus, there's no gerus. Rashba and Kedushin, Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, Ayin Sham. And what does that have to do with Chazar of a Gadol? By a Gadol, we're talking about being Mevatel, a Gerus, Mikano Lahaba. But that's not the Nidon of the Katan. So it's not a contrast between a Gadol and a Katan, that a Katan can do what a Gadol can't do. They're doing two totally different things. Gadol can't be Mevatel, Mikano Lahaba. And the katan is mevatel. He's showing that it's not a schus. So it was never really a gerus. It's not a schus. It's not a gerus. And that has nothing to do with the chazar of a gadol, who's nidon al bittul geruso mikano lahaba. He's trying to be mevatel the gerus from here on in. But the katan, there are completely different mechanics. He's showing that it wasn't a schus. And we have to understand more that in the makor of the din of gerus of a katan, the Rambam writes it in Perak Yud Gimel Melchas Asurei Bi Halachas Zayin, and he doesn't mention the din mecha. He only talks about mecha and Uchas Malachim. And it's discussed by the Ranik Subis there. And the Bach talks about in Yeridei Reis Samches, and the Tshuvas Yeridei, Chasim Sofer Yeridei, Reish Nun Gimel talks about it. Why? Because this din of the mecha of a cotton is shaykh to the din of the mecha of a gadol. And therefore, it says this din in Hilchos Melachim. But what does one have to do with the other? What does one have to do with the other? Mecha of a gadol is, I was a good ger until now. The gerus was a good gerus. And Mekan al I want to be mevata. We say you can't do that. By a cotton, it's an andere zach. It's an andere sword zach. It's a different category. By a cotton, he's saying that it was never really a schus. The gerus wasn't a good gerus. So how can you contrast the two? The apples and oranges. So based on what we said, we can answer as follows. The sheet of Tosin Sanhedrin Samachesam and Beis B'dibur HaMaschil Cotton. And it's also brought B'Shem Tosfos in the Rashba, on the Ritva, and the Sugin Ksubis, that the Bittul HaGeirus, when he got older and he protested, is not because through that it's not considered a schus, but it's because he requires Kabbalas HaMitzvahs. And when he got older, when he became an adult, halachically, and he wasn't mocheh, that's his Kabbalas HaMitzvahs. Mashen came when he is mocheh, when he does protest, that's his lack of Kabbalas HaMitzvahs. There's also mashma like that in the Rambam. In Hilchos Melachim, he says, Shiach Limchos b'shah sheyagdil. Kevin shlo micha b'shaito shubeinu mamche. What's the opinion of b'shaito at that time? Is there a din shel shah lemecha? Should have said misha yagdil. When he gets older, what's this b'shaito? Echonim talk about it. Look in the Sefer Mafteach of Shabsi Frankel's Rambam. Based on Tosas, it's very understandable. Because there is a shaito. What's the shaito? Shas Kabbalas HaMitzvahs. There's this special hour he gets older, there's this time where he's makabel mitzvahs. It's not bittul geirus. He's saying that it wasn't really a schus. It's this time that he has to be makabel mitzvahs. Or not makabel. The choret shver. If this is true, if this is shas kabbalas ha-mitzvahs, kumtois, that there's only kabbalas ha-mitzvahs when he got older. And how is it mashma that if there was no protest, they're already gerim from their kadnus? They don't have kabbalas ha-mitzvahs b'kadnus. They don't have kabbalas ha-mitzvahs b'kadnus. So how do they already become Jews when they're ketanim? We have to say that Kabbalas HaMitzvahs is not part of the Maaseh Geirus. That you need Kabbalas HaMitzvahs is because after, as we explained, Milan Tvila are the Maaseh of Knisa LeBris, and that's what's machnis the person to the bris. That only means that mitzadim is gayer, there's a ratzon to enter the bris. And that's Kabbalas HaMitzvahs bebris, through which he gets a Shem Yisrael. Like the Rambam says when he talks about becoming a ger, that he's makabel all Torah. In other words, we have the Maaseh Shel Knisa LeBris, which is when the Mizgayer has a ratzon l'knisa l'bris. What's the ratzon l'knisa l'bris? Kabbalah Sol Torah. So the Maisa of Knisa l'bris is the Mila and Tefillah, and the ratzon to enter into the bris is Kabbalah Sol Mitzvahs. Kabbalah Sol Torah. The Stofev Tachas Kanvei Shechina, like the Rambam says. Then this Maisa brings him into the bris. But if there's no Kabbalah, the Maisa is not a Maisa of Knisa l'bris, and then the Maisa is not Machasim l'bris. Doesn't bring him into the covenant. And therefore, if there was Kabbalah Sabris, which is Begadluso, so then it turns out that the Mila and the Tvila will really machnas him into the bris. And then he becomes the Yisrael Aidei the Mila Tvila Shaisa B'Kadnis. Because what's machnas him the bris before? Mila and Tvila. The only thing is there has to be a Ratzin. That Ratzin can come even afterwards. So if afterwards he has that Ratzin, it means that the Mila and the Tvila brought him into the bris. That was done when he was a cotton. That were done when he was a cotton. But let's say when he became a gadol, he was moiche, shaito, like the Rambam says. So then the Mila and the Tvila were in a Maisa of Knisa l'bris. And then this Maisa is not machas to the bris. So he's not bebris if he doesn't accept mitzvahs when he becomes a gadol. If he's moiche, that means that he didn't want to come into the bris. That means his Mila and Tefillah were meaningless. Because he never had the Maisa Geirus, which is the Maisa of Achnasa Labris. So if he did the proper Kabbalah Sabris Begadluso, so then the Mila and Tefillah were Machnas. If he doesn't do the Kabbalah Sabris Begadluso, then the Mila and Tefillah were Machnasim Labris. So it comes out according to this, that the whole Mecha of the Ger Katan is on the Bittul Chalois HaKnisa Labris, Sheyesh Begeirus. He's being Mevatel, the Chalos, the halachic change of entering into the covenant that happens with Geirus. And that's only because the Chelek HaGeirus of Kabbalah HaMitzvahs is lacking. And that's the Rambam says. The Rambam says that even though by a gadol the bittul hayoyse bebris is not mivatel the gerus, by a katan that his mecha is al iyayoso bebris, that is mivatel the gerus. So the diuk is a correct diuk. Exactly what a gadol can't do, a katan can do. A gadol can't be mevatel his knisa lebris, and a katan can be mevatel his knisa lebris. If it was just a matter of saying it's not a schus for me, that's a completely different mechanic than what's going on with the gadol. But if you understand that it's by not being mekabel mitzvahs, he's being mevatel his knisa lebris. He's saying that knisa lebris that I did with the milah and tefillah is garnished. I don't want it. That's mevatel his knisa lebris. He's always yid. He's not a Jew. And that's exactly a contrast to the gadol who wants to be mevatel his knisa lebris and he can't. Too little, too late. So when a katan is not makabel mitzvahs, so he doesn't have to be alt katan. When does he have to be makabel mitzvahs? He has to be makabel mitzvahs. B'shaito at 13 when he becomes a gadol. That kabbalah mitzvahs is a ratzon l'knisa lebris. By saying I don't want mitzvahs, he's saying I don't want to be in the bris. I don't want to be in the bris. The ma'aseh gerus is batal. A gadol says I don't want to be in the bris. His ma'aseh gerus is kayim. So it's a perfect contrast. Gadol, yes. Katan, Gadol, no, can't do it. A Katan can do it. That's Tifa Pshat in the Rambam. Pile Plos. Medarf Tansin when we hear such a Pshat. I don't know, all these shiurim are just shchuras v'lo miyayin. And now we can understand very well the sheet of the Gaonim, that Kedushin isn't Taifes b'mumar. And the sheet that brought in the Mordechai, that there's a din of Kanoim Pogenbo. Of Kanoim Pogenbo by a mumar. Because based on what we explained, and also, and a mumar is an erva legabe yibum. Those shitas that aser yibum with a mumar. Erva. And the Trumas Hadeshin says that because of this, Reish Chav Gimel, it's kechayve krisis vein kedushin toiv simbo. Because based on everything we explained, yesh lachkor b'chol adinim shenemru al goyim sheshonim hem Yisrael. All those dinim that we see that goyim have a different din than Yisraelim. Do we say it's because they're Am HaGoyim and we're Am B'nai Yisrael, and the fact that they're Goyim and we're B'nai Yisrael? We're Jews, they're non-Jews. We're Jews, they're Gentiles. They can be gentle Gentiles or ungentle Gentiles, and we can Gentile Jews or un-Gentile Jews, doesn't matter. The fact that it's a Jew-Gentile contrast, or it's Pshat, that they have different dinim, because we are B'nai Bris, and they're not B'nai Bris. It's all a question of B'nai Brith. We saw on a previous year, the din of Shlichus, that according to the Magen Avram, the din that's said by Goyim in Shlichus is because they're not B'nai Bris, therefore they're not B'Shlichus, and not because they're not B'nai Yisrael. Even according to the Ibn Ozer that we discussed. So he says, yeah, one of the two is fine. But you see in the Gemara Legabe Avadim that it says Atem, they're B'nai Bris, and not because they're Yisrael. So we have this distinction of shlichus. The Magen Avraham says Akom is less of a shlichus, Yosem ben Bris. And it's before in the Gemara, like by shlichus ba'avadim, because they are part of the Bris. And lav dafka machmas hayoschem Yisraelim. So now we can say that the Gaonim hold the fact that there's no Tfisas Kedushin by Goyim, and the fact that there's a din of Kanoim Pogin Bo, it's not because they're not Jews. The Gemara says about a mummer, Yisrael alpha pishachata. Yisraelu. Person can serve idols, but he's still a Yisrael. So what is he? He's a Yisrael. But it doesn't say he's a Ben Bris. Just that B'tfisas Kedushin, there's a din that we're B'nai Bris, and they're not B'nai Bris. And therefore it emerged B'pshitus, that a mummer who's not a Ben Bris is going to be like an Akum. So what prevents the Kedushin is not it's Jew versus Gentile. It's Ben Bris versus not Ben Bris. So if that what makes the din of Kanai Pogam and prevents Tfisas Kedushin, the fact that they're not Bnei Bris, so when it comes to a mummer who's also not a Ben Bris, then there's not going to be a Tfisas Kedushin. She desagonim lo tafsi Kedushin a mummer. Because it's not a din that a mummer is not a Yisrael. A mummer is a Yisrael. Yisrael, Bishachat, the Yisrael, or the Gemara can do it in Sanhedrin says Mem Dalet. But he's not a Ben Bris. And what's kover, whether it's Tfisas Kedushin or not, is if you're a Ben Bris. So therefore, this mummer is going to have a din of an akum. And it has nothing to do with the fact that he's not Jewish. He is Jewish. He's Yisrael. He's chayv in all the mitzvahs. What, do you think a guy's a mummer? He's trying to say, oh God, man, I resigned. I didn't have to keep Shabbos. No. You could be a mummer, mikan v'ad lo da'ah chadashah. Person can say a million times. He can say Hail Marys. He can go to church. He can eat wafers. He can go to confession. He can have Easter eggs. He can have a Christmas party. Do whatever he wants. He's chayv in all the mitzvahs. All the mitzvahs. Even the Gdukei Sofrim is get to Shemayim. And Hashem's going to say, how come you didn't make a shahakol on that M&M? How come you didn't make a mizonos on that cookie? How come you missed Sof Zman Kriya Shema on this and this day, and the next day, and the next day? Because he's Yisrael, Ava Bishachat Yisraelu. But he's not a Ben Bris. And those dinim that make him a non-Ben, those dinim that are nogea to being a Ben Bris, don't apply to a mummer, don't apply to a mishumin. And that's according to some Tfisas Kedushin, and others Yibum. Okay, we have a lot more to say, a lot more, and that's an understatement. But we will conclude now, and we will give ourselves a bracha that we should be zocheh to continue lilmod ulelamed, lishmor v'lasos ulekayim. It's called divrei sam u'tarasa v'yahava. Amen v'yamein. Shalom, shalom, sweetest and most beloved.